Around the globe, there are telcos which are adopting latest technologies to design next-gen telecom networks. Next session is on the learnings from European telcos. It's a fireside chat on what Indian telcos can learn from European telcos. I would like to invite Mallik Rao, Chief Technology Information Officer, CTIO, Telefonica Deutschland, and Danish Khan, Assistant Editor, ETTelecom.com for the chat session.
Hello everyone, we have Mr. Mallik Rao, who is Chief Technology and Information Officer at Telefonica Deutschland, for a very good fireside session to discuss how Telefonica is transforming its IT processes and networks for its 5G services and to enable 5G use cases. And also, we are going to discuss how Indian telcos can learn from European telcos when it comes to 5G services and 5G use cases. So let's begin the session. My first question to you, Mr. Rao, is what are your views on digital telco? What does it take for them or the telcos to be called truly digital telcos? What is your definition of a digital telco?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, digital telco is about the customer experience. If you have customer in the center, when I'm saying customer, it's basically both consumers, right? The mass market consumers, and also the enterprises, right? Whether you're offering a convert service, if you can pull everything together from a customer perspective, what difference are we making? And at the same time, leverage technology. Technology is the means for us to deliver an experience. That's how I see it. So digital telco basically is, for me, customer experience. The biggest thing internal to the telco is adopting the change. Adopting change in terms of technology, adopting change in terms of people, adopting change in terms of culture. So unless we have these three things pulled together, we can't make a change towards the customer. So that is what I mean when you talk about digital telco: technology, people, culture, and processes. What we manage.
Sure. And how Telefonica is transforming its network architecture and IT processes, and in that journey, how important partners are for the company?
I think for us at Telefonica, we strongly believe that none of us as a singularly will solve the problems what we have, right? Both from a technology perspective and also the customer experience perspective. We have to significantly partner with the vendors in the ecosystem. I would even hate to say vendor. I would rather always call everybody whom I work with is partners. So partners means, first of all, the change has to happen inside us as the telco. We cannot anymore treat the vendors as a big vendors, okay, 5 years, 10 years kind of relationships, and you treat them the way you treat them. We have to be simpler to work with, smaller companies to drive innovation. Can we have a cycle time where you have 2 weeks, 4 weeks kind of sprints, right? Wherein you work with these kind of ecosystem players to deliver value for the business. At Telefonica, we have started off in fact two big initiatives. One is simplifying both technology wise, simplifying the way we work with the technology. So for example, just 8 weeks back, we have launched work with both Ericsson and the hyperscalers AWS. So with that initiative, we said we want to take core of our business into the cloud. The idea of it basically is learning, right? You got to learn the technologies, you got to really know each other, and then deliver value for the customer. So this is one initiative which I could just say, yeah, we started off. From a customer experience perspective, of course, I work with a lot of our Indian IT ecosystem, whether it's Tech Mahindra, Wipro, or Infosys, or TCS. So we work with all of them in terms of bringing definitely a digital experience in our landscape.
So very recently, the company tied up with Tech Mahindra for developing various technology-based use cases, including 5G. So are partners enabling Telefonica to develop those use cases? Like, is the partner-led approach helping the company out?
I think absolutely. I mean, if you really know each other well, and if we are transparently able to say what problems are we trying to solve, right, it helps. So with TechM, we started off with our entire network operations to begin with. So we've transitioned into their NOC in Romania. However, the idea was not to just do a remote operations, right? Idea is about Can we get an experience end to end, not just in IT network? Can we really automate? Can we really use the technologies, leverage the technologies to deliver a value again? Of course, with other players also we're working. In, like for example, Wipro, we do the end-to-end testing of IT and network. So yeah, with the players, the Indian IT players, we've been working pretty closely in the last decade in Germany.
And when it comes to the 5G technology, how has been the strategy? Like, how are you developing your overall rollout plan, and at what scale you're offering 5G, and accordingly developing use cases not just for end consumers but for industries and enterprises?
Yeah, I think for 5G is again, when we as a telco, we're good at reach, right? You still develop the mass market kind of approach where we will have to roll out the network into, when we are doing right now about 6-7 cities to be launched now, which are planned. And at the same time, going to mass market is one approach. However, architecturally, can you really go and develop use cases? So our intention is, while you do the mass market rollout with number of base stations, that will happen, but at the same time create the technology disruption with 5G specifically for industry. So we have about 4 or 5 big use cases. The first one was 5G for driverless cars. So Telefonica globally, we're working on the A9 motorway, in which we work with SEAT and work on a use case of connected car. This basically, you have V2X, the standard the automobile industry is now working on, vehicle to X, that is V2X. So basically, it's a communication between the cars, between the pedestrians and objects. So this is one use case which we are developing. The second big use case Telefonica Germany is doing, along with Mercedes-Benz, is to automate the entire production of their cars. So if you look at what we have done there, it's essentially replacing the different use cases. So we started off with a connected screwdriver. How can you not have the cables on the shop floor? Simplifying the landscape in the shop floor. In fact, Daimler has called it as Factory 56 as a concept. There's a nice video Daimler released about 2 weeks back in terms of zero-touch vehicle production. So we are participating in that, and the idea is replicate this kind of manufacturing setup across Daimler locations worldwide. The third use case, I would say, 5G for broadcast. So we are working with the broadcaster in Rosenheim, wherein we said, okay, use the low frequency and go for 5G for broadcasting networks. So that's how we're developing the use cases. Of course, the other one for maybe every market which has a lesser fiber penetration, lesser, say, broadband penetration at home, 5G could play a significant role in terms of a complementing or a replacement technology for certain use cases for the home broadband. So we started off with that one. We have worked both on the 3.6 gigahertz and also the millimeter wave 26 gigahertz deployment. We did few pilots in Hamburg, and we see pretty good results in terms of fixed replacement with 5G at economical costs, because every wireless network is shared medium. So you got to have economics working for you to really go for a wireless broadband. And if a customer is consuming, say, unlimited, it's not an easy deployment option for wireless technology. Of course, fiber is a fiber. You can't really replace a fiber technology in the near future. However, wireless is becoming a viable alternate technology for broadband. So these are the 4 or 5 use cases which we are working on pretty much in the last, say, 9 months.
So you have worked with Indian telecom operators as well in the past, and now you are overseeing a network in Europe. How do you compare the networks in Europe with the Indian networks? So what is the change that you're seeing?
I think 2 or 3 things. One is, if I look back, we are really good in India to build the network. Size and scale really matters in that country, right? That's what, when you could develop, you could build networks in, let's say, 100,000 base station in 2 years' time, 24 months' time, right? That's possible. However, when you come into the matured markets, it's all about the quality. if you can't deliver a qualitative connection for the price what a customer pays, there's definitely a balance between quality and the price. I think that's the biggest difference. The second one, which I feel is competence, what we invest on developing in the country. I mean, I've been out from India close to now 9 years. However, I'm very closely connected with the Indian ecosystem. I think we need to really invest on competence, invest on innovation, invest on developing the competence in the country. I think that's what matters a lot. For example, we decided in Telefonica that anything which is to be deployed in say cloud, for example, it should be done in Europe because of the security considerations, because of the competence what is needed. You want to know where it is being put. I think these are the 2-3 things I feel differences. But however, technology is pervasive. Technology is sometimes I feel, India has an advantage of scale, right? And also the speed at which the ecosystem can move is much faster compared to Europe. So there are pros and cons if I really look at it.
And at the global level, there is a lot of focus on open source technologies in the telecom industry. OpenRAN being one example. Japanese telco Rakuten is adopting it. Then US is also pushing for the technology. What is your view on the open source technologies?
For me, it's extremely important. It's such a core to our business. So what happened is basically we have relied on the black boxes, right? You buy a black box, you put a box, and then you integrate it works. I think it's time for the industry ecosystem to really have, I don't say control, have an influence, I must say. Influence in terms of openness, influence in terms of delinking the hardware or decomposing the hardware and software, right? So for us, when we started off in Telefonica last 3, 4, or maybe 5 years as a founding member of OpenRAN Alliance, right? So Telefonica invested significantly in developing the technology globally. So I think it makes a huge sense. I think we have to learn what happened in IT, right? Platform independent software architecture should also happen in telecom, specifically in the radio network domain. So we are running a pilot. In fact, in the Q4 of this year, we will have in Munich a cluster of base station, which will be completely based on OpenRAN. So it's the way to go. However, I'm really encouraged by the behavior of the telecom equipment suppliers, let's say Ericsson's, Nokia's of the world. Unless these companies really move into this technology disruption, it's not going to work. We cannot work only with niche players, because by working with niche players, you cannot have a massive deployment and then massive operations of say 40-45 million customers. India's case, 400 or 500 million customer base cannot be deployed on a network which cannot be assured. That's very important. And that is the reason I said, unless you move core of your business along with the partners, right, you are not making a difference. And that is the reason for us to really get Ericsson on board when we are doing the pilot with Amazon Web Services, right, in Germany. Unless these two big players or Telefonica kind of operators come together, you can't really move.
Sure. So when it comes to these technologies, telecom industry per se, a lot of focus and discussion is happening on the security part, especially when it comes to certain equipment vendors. How do you see this security as a core at the discussion which is happening right now in the entire world? And how do you take security as the core element of your network?
I think, look, security is basic, say, hygiene. I wouldn't even call it as hygiene, to be honest. It's such a critical thing for us, right? Right from the end user equipment to the application and the entire network. Unless you bring, because people trust you. Every day, millions of customers are interacting with you with the trust that, okay, there's somebody who's taking care of their privacy, data security, digital security. So that is definitely a critical piece of whether it is Telefonica or any other operators in the world, have to. Even personally, we have to be really committed to make sure security is essential. Having said, having gone through the discussion in terms of the technology providers, right, one versus other, for us, at least in Telefonica Germany or Telefonica globally, we look at it as an essential piece. However, it has to be equitable with respect to standard. You set a rule of law, said there is a rule of law which is available in the country, and everybody sticks to the rule of law. I think that is how we encourage, because unless once you stop or once you start, say, negating one or the other, you will not leverage on technology. So I would say, politics aside, technology perspective, bring in the best possible technology, make sure that you put your contribution in terms of security is valid. That's how we have been doing. European regulators, in fact, have come out with a toolbox, which we will stick to the toolbox. And whatever laws which are there in the country must be honored and must be stuck to by the operators like us. And that's the commitment which we have on the table.
So I'm sure you would have read or you must be following the recent development wherein Reliance Jio has said that they have developed their own 5G technology. How do you see that announcement? Do you think that in the current scheme of affairs, is it good to bring processes in-house if you have the capital to develop, or is it even better if you work with partners in the telecom industry? So what is your view on that?
It has to be a right balance. I mean, I don't negate that. Okay, some manufacturer, when some operator can develop in-house, like for example, Telefonica developed entire prepaid in-house, right? However, the big challenge is, unless it is adopted globally, unless you have a scale, you can't sustain over a longer period. My belief is any solution should be at least regional, at least global, if not universal across the world, right? We have seen CDMA, right? CDMA could not sustain a quite long period of time. So it is important. I'm sure RIL would completely, Jio would look at it as a global scale. And what I strongly believe is participating and also leveraging the technology, because it is open source is available. People can download the APKs, people can download everything today and also try it out the scale in the cloud. You don't need to build a specific infrastructure in-house. So for me, it's a right balance between what you want to have in-house and what do you want to work with the partners. And I strongly believe working with the partners is the best thing. However, culturally, we have to change significantly within the operator system before we adopt these changes which are happening. But for me, a strong belief is no one company has all the solutions for the challenges which the industry is facing and the customers are needing.
So according to you, which are those technologies which are going to disrupt the telecom market in coming quarters or coming years? If you could just give a sense on the trends perspective about those technologies in the telecom market.
Yeah, if you look at the wireless technology, right, I think the 5G will be a disruption. Now, how do we really adopt the 5G in our own ecosystem? Are we really diluting with 5G, with 2G, 3G, 4G, backward compatibility, no complexity? I mean, if we start making it complex, we will fail. We will do the way we did 2G, 3G, or 4G. So 5G is a tool which you can significantly alter your destiny in terms of how do you bring the services to the customer. That's on 5G on the access side. Core side for me is cloud. The more and more you adopt the cloud technologies, the more and more you train your people inside, because all said and done, I have a large team of people who are really good in managing and developing the wireless or wireline technologies, working with vendors like Ericsson's, Nokia's of the world, right? Samsung, we are good at working with them. However, we got to really learn these new skills in terms of cloud. So cloud is definitely a disruptor in telco. The third piece is once you adopt the cloud, the rate of change of cloud is significantly higher than a typical telecom operations, right? And once you do that, once you adopt the cloud, it's a journey. It's not going to be an event. Like by 2021, I'm a cloud native company. It's not going to happen. It's a long journey. However, you start making these steps, you start working with these partners to make sure that you're adopting these technologies. So these two are broad themes for me. So that once you have these themes, then you can deliver the services for the customer faster. Because none of the service today, we don't have any silver bullet saying that this is the service is making a big difference for society. It's not. We don't have it. You have to try it with a lot of services. Then only one single service can be successful. At Telefonica, we strongly believe democratizing these connectivity, democratizing the access, and at the same time bringing at affordable level for every customer. So that's our kind of motto. Democratizing the connectivity sustainably in moving forward. It's not a one-time event that I've made some services in 2020 and it's available for next 10 years. It's not going to happen that way.
So, Mr. Rao, I think on this note, we can end this session. I think you have answered all the questions at length, and you've given all the perspectives, not from the European perspective, but you have given better understanding how the markets are changing globally. So on that note, let's conclude this. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this, and we hope for future engagements. Thank you very much, Mr. Rao. Thank you.
Thank you, Danish.
Thank you, Mr. Rao, for sharing great examples with us. I'm sure this will help us in taking our businesses to the next level of growth.